Hello, Minion. You should get some rest. A headache's the worst. Maybe sit in a dark room. Turn your phone brightness all the way off if you do stay on your phone a little bit. That ad played twice. That's so weird. My computer's being weird. Alright, let's get a little white ink in here. Sleep. Yeah, sleep's probably the best. You should get some rest. You won't be missing much here. I'll still be inking this, most likely. You won't miss much. I doubt you'd miss anything. It's not like who's a big YouTuber? Someone just jump in here. I can't think of any big YouTubers. Who's the big guy? Who's the biggest? I remember PewDiePie was one of the big ones, and then it was Markiplier is a big one, and then Mr. Beast. Those are like the biggest ones that I think about as far as like that everyone is always talking about. Usually keep the chat alive. That's okay. I'm more concerned with your physical health.
Let's go hear from more citizens of the Lord.
I love my lawn. I love the way it looks.
What do you do to keep this so lush?
After winter, you put down a crabgrass preventer.
We hate crabgrass.
Prevent crabgrass now with an early spring feeding.
Feed your lawn. Feed it.
Hello, Liam. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you think so. I guess I'll start talking a little bit, and anyone passing by might get a little snippet of information as they scroll in. But I am a comic book artist. I do comic books, naturally. I have a few of my own comics that I have done. I typically do sci-fi war stuff. Hello, Mackenzie, and hello, Kaylee. Long time no speak. I typically do sci-fi war stuff and, much more like guns and infrastructure, like vehicles and stuff like that, more futuristic things. And then with this medieval series, I'm going all the way in the other direction, where archaic and kind of not sci-fi. You know what I should say? I still believe there's some sci-fi to it. I would be crazy enough to say it's more sci-fi than it is fantasy. And, but it's not high technology. So the lack of technology doesn't make this, not qualified for sci-fi. I gotta work on the vocabulary of that, but I think I'm getting to a point where I can describe this a little bit. And thank you, I appreciate that. So I do have a free-to-read series called Nadir Archives. As I go about these lives, I feel like I come out with more and more projects, and it becomes more to talk about. So I need to figure out a way to smoothly navigate through that. But I'm going to try something out right now. I'm going to say, just to preface, I'm going to be talking about 3 different series that I'm working on. There we go. We're getting somewhere. And 3 different series, 3 different universes. The Universal Timeline, the Cosmic Timeline, and the Primordial Timeline. So, the free-to-read series is the Cosmic Timeline, but the free-to-read series, the title of that series is called Nadir Archives, and you can read that for free on the Graveyard Comics Facebook page, or on my TikTok account. They allow me to post, like, slideshow kind of things there, so I post it on that as well. Hello, Nen, and thank you. I'm glad you like that. Um, so yeah, Free to Read series is on TikTok, and my TikTok's just Jake Grave. I think if you type that, you'll find me. Um, and the Graveyard Comics Facebook page. I do have a published series that's a different universe. That's called Dead Liberty. Now that's the Universal timeline. So you don't have to buy the books on Amazon to understand what's happening in the Free to Read series because it's a different universe. Um, Dead Liberty is more of a superhero story, and it's still a war story though, but it's more of a war story and a superhero story second. It's not as futuristic as Nadir. Nadir, there's like space travel and stuff like that. And then there's the Primordial timeline, which is like my medieval stuff. Again, different universe, which is the Primordial timeline, as I call it. But this series is called Stain of the Forgotten. And since I'm already juggling so much with the comics I'm already doing, who knows when I'll ever get to do this as a comic, sadly. But what I did do is I'm going to be making a trading card set, a collectible trading card, story cards. So this is going to be scaled down to trading card size, and then on the back of the card is going to tell a little bit of a story, numbered 1 through 55. And I think that's a cool way to kind of allow people to engage with this story that I have, even though I don't have the manpower to put out this comic at this moment. So when I do end up getting to the point where I'm making this a comic, I'll have there'll be that benefit to the people who have read some of the stuff from the cards. They'll have some extra knowledge when certain things are talked about as far as the lore and history of things. And then if you've read the cards, you're like, oh, I've literally experienced it. So I think that's a kind of cool thing. Okay, let me read the comments, and then I'll keep talking. I haven't drawn at all today. The day is almost over, and I wasted it playing a Lego game. Is that the first time you ever played the Lego game? I say, I know how it feels to feel like you wasted the day by not drawing. But, there's I think if it's something new, I think there's ways you can kind of justify it a little bit. I say look at the bright side. I kind of try to think like that. Imagine that bird is in almost every scene. It's a dove, but that's funny if you're saying that, if that's the same dove that has appeared in the other ones, in the other cards. But yes, pay attention to the dove. Good job, Minion. Minion, as observant as ever. I expect nothing less from you at this point, Minion. My new signature. I'm not going to talk about the dove anymore. Hello, Adelaide. Did I say your name right? I always be second guessing myself. Are you leaving, Liam? Is that what those hands are? No, not yet. Okay. Oh, that was a high. I guess I could show some of the other cards I've done for anyone who wants to see those, since it looks like we got some new people. Let me read. Let me get those out real quick. So this is King Solomon. I guess I'll give a little bit of some explanations behind the artwork, as far as like just general descriptions, and trying my best not to spoil things. But he is the king of Umor. And thank you, Liam. I'm glad you like it. Aren't birds a symbol of something in TV shows and movies? It's like they appear in major scenes. Probably. I think it depends on what movie or whatever you're looking at. Specifically, my stuff, with all my works really, I take a lot more of allegorical stances to, like biblical references at times. So it's much more of the symbolism of a dove in a biblical sense. So this is a Vimor Lancer, and he's slaying a dwarf dragon. And these are the King's Goosehawk, which is a knight order of the Kingdom of Vimor. And these cards will be colored. I will also be offering the prints that'll be the same scale as this, but those won't have the card stuff on the back. So if anyone just wants to own any artwork and not want to feel like they're gambling trying to get a card, because I don't want to treat the card system as a gambling thing. And then if you're thinking, oh, but what about the story? What if I want to own the story? I'm very much encouraging that people talk to each other about the cards. So if like you got card 2, 3, and 4, and you want to know what happens next, and someone else has cards 5 and 6, I encourage the discourse for that in the graveyard discourse. And I want people to be talking amongst each other and talking about their thoughts on certain things. I think that would be pretty fun. So, in a way, yes, you guys could spoil it for each other. I don't want to spoil it for you, but you could spoil it for each other when talking about it and what card sets you have. I think that will be a cool way to kind of allow for the fun aspect of opening cards and stuff like that, but without becoming predatory on the kind of like addiction kind of stuff. And I really don't want that. I don't feel right with that, but I think it does sound fun. And there are some things I'm planning on doing as far as like cool little chase cards, whether it's a hand-drawn sketch card that I'd color, or a metal card. So I have some ideas to make this really fun, and I think it's pretty cool. Hello, the real Spider-Man webs. How much would they go for? I'm leaning on the $10 range, but it's really hard to say right now because since I don't have the product finished, and these are just the first like 5 cards out of 55 that I have drawn. So since I don't have the actual product in hand, I can't manage the the pricing yet, as far as like the paper it's printed on, the packaging. That's the other thing. I still have to design the packaging. There's a lot. I don't expect to be done with this. I'm trying to give myself a year to work on it. I would like to finish it before a year, but realistically, I'm also juggling, school, my last semesters of college, my other job, my day job, which I can bring with these. The cool thing about these being so small at 5x7 is I can bring it with me to my day job, or if I have to stop what I'm doing, visit family, I'll bring it with me to visit family. So I can be working on these at a good point in time throughout the day and stuff. But when I'm home, I'm trying to prioritize working on finishing Nadir and the comics stuff. So work on the comics and I'm trying to do it all. Hello, I love Mina Ashido. Make it at least 20 for a pack of cards. Is that a fair price? I feel like that's expensive for a pack of cards. but I don't buy cards. So, because again, these are not going to be trading cards. But I don't know how much like trading cards go for and stuff like that. Maybe I should do a little research. Maybe walk into a place that people sell cards. I'll be like, what is that called? I'll be like a sports scout. I'll be like checking out some cards and stuff. I'll feel like the McDonald's employee. I don't buy cards. I just sell them. That's crazy. What is inexpensive in this economy? Wow, what a hell of a tongue twister. I'm gonna rewind that. Try that again. What isn't expensive in this economy? Absolutely, that too. I think I would want to do something that's fair, because here's the thing too. I would want to see what's the market. You know, I wouldn't want to underprice them either, but like, I imagine that someone might want to buy more of the cards. You know what I mean? Because let's say there's 55 cards, and let's say a pack comes with like 10 or 8 cards. You're not going to get all 55 in one pack. So this is me thinking, you know. And so if someone's going to buy it, it'll encourage them to buy it again to get more of a chance to get those cards. But, and I'd feel less bad, you know, charging someone for the, you know, again and again. I mean, I'm a terrible businessman. I'm so bad. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'd pay an artist $20 in a heartbeat if I had money. Well, I think that would be, you know, I guess, you know, what I'm trying to say is I would have to see what does an average pack of cards go for, because I wouldn't want to overcharge, and I wouldn't really want to undercharge either, because it is taking me away from my other works in the comic stuff. And also, you know, I do want people to, you know, I do want to make some profit off it as well. You know, it is a business in that sense. But yeah, we'll see. I can draw a hell of a dragon, but when it comes to the selling and marketing and stuff, I feel bad selling my stuff. That's my problem, you know. But anyways, let's keep reading the comments. Okay. I had no idea what the size was before that message. Well, unless you're talking about the prints. If you're talking about the prints, and that would be that. So you're making your own comic. Love this dragon slaying drawing. Thank you. So I have a couple of comics. I'll just go over real quick. I have my main series. Let me just grab that. All these papers everywhere. So my main series is on Amazon. And that is called Dead Liberty. I don't have issue 0 here, but I have issue 1. And so the main character is the Liberator. He's got these angel wings. And it's a sci-fi war comic. So he's got angel wings. There's superheroes, but it's a war story first. The art's a little dated here. That's kind of older art. And I have a free-to-read series that's even more futuristic. That one, they have like space travel and stuff, but no superheroes. That's called Nadir Archives. And the free-to-read series you can read on the Graveyard Comics Facebook page or on my TikTok, because on TikTok you can post like those images that you can like swipe. So I posted there as well. So you can read that for free. I just dropped the latest 5 pages on the Graveyard Comics Facebook page. I will be posting them on TikTok as well, but I kind of want to post all the stuff I've been doing, the sketch covers with Dynamite Comics. I want to post those first, because then I'll just bury my pages that I spent so long on. So I want to post the Dynamite stuff first. But yeah, right now I have issues 0 through 4 out for Dead Liberty, and all 5 of those issues are also on Kindle. they're a little bit cheaper on Kindle as well. And I will be making this one on Kindle as well. This is Blood Hunt. This is in the same universe as Dead Liberty. So Blood Hunt is a Black Ops character, Black Ops superhero. So he doesn't really cross paths with the other characters. But, you know, it's a shared universe, same world. I'm trying to, like, show. I don't think I have them in hardcover. I think I kind of would want to make a hardcover if there's, you know, when I make a volume. But, unless you guys are like, no, I really want this one to be a hardcover, you know, maybe Blood Hunt would probably be one that people might want a hardcover for. So yeah, Dead Liberty and Blood Hunt, that's the Universal timeline. The Free to Read series, that's the Cosmic timeline. And then when I do this as a comic, the medieval stuff, that's the Primordial timeline. And but I'm not going to start that comic since I'm still juggling the other comics. But what I'm going to be doing is starting a trading card set, and then on the back of the cards, it's going to explain the scene and what's happening and some of the story. Yeah, Genesis or Blood Hunt, I can see that. Or if I made like a joint issue of issue 0 and issue 1 together, collected, and make that a hardcover. So these guys here are the Soldiers of Faith. So these are Holy Knights of Vimor. So that's what we're working on here. So these are kind of the main forces of the kingdom of Vimor, and this is King Solomon. And yes, there will be some kind of fantasy, as there will be like creatures and stuff like that, so it'll be like a dark fantasy. Let's just read the comments. Make sure I'm caught up. Okay. Trying to keep Big Shot in really good condition. I don't remember. Okay, read that. Okay, I'm all caught up. Alrighty. So earlier today, I was working on some sketch cards for Dynamite Comics. I did like 5 of them today, which I'm pretty happy about. And then when I get off this live, I'll probably go back to working on those. If I could get 10 done today, I'll be very happy. And when I say done, I just mean like the inks. I still have to color those. What's cool about working on these cards is kind of seeing them kind of come together, you know, for my medieval series. Stain of the Forgotten is what it's called. And for example, these guys, I designed these guys in 2022. The dragon, the dwarf dragon, I designed that like a couple of weeks ago. And then there's different things like designed at like different points in time. These guys, I designed them last year. So it's so cool kind of seeing them kind of come together at different points. 2022, last year, a couple of weeks ago, these guys had designed back in either 2016, 2017, or 2018, like that kind of clump of time is when I designed the Lancers and their horse. Thank you, Dave Fisher. Armor would fix me. Armor wouldn't help against your headache. Only physical defense. I almost am going for like a painterly vibe for some of these ones. The ones that are not action scenes. I almost want to kind of give the same impression that you would get from like a painting. And looking at like, you know, Renaissance paintings and stuff like that. Or, see if I butcher his name. Hieronymus Bosch. I really like his stuff. And then, that's like medieval art. And I've also like started looking at Frank Frazetta's art, Brahm. I've been looking a little more at Mike Mignola's stuff as well to kind of help me get in the mindset of more heavier shadows that I wanted to do with this series for some time. Just curious, why don't you try to do a huge battle between an army of knights versus others? It sounds like a ton of work. I would, you know, I typically do war stories, and so I do like the action and stuff like that. Now, there, just a couple things. That would be sick. It would be sick, of course. These are going to be part of a trading card set, and they're going to be numbered 1 through 55, and each one's going to tell a scene that explain what's going on with the scene, and then you know, there will be action. Here's an action card right here, and they will be scaled down to trading card size. So they're going to be scaled down to a 2.5 by 3.5 scale. So yeah, I have 55 of these to do, and there will be a lot. There will be some action. Yeah, I'm not just drawing you know, random stuff, but I also did some proof of concepts for this last year, and those I drew on bigger paper. Maybe I should sell some of those as prints. That would be kind of cool. I need to make a playlist, if I haven't already. I don't think I did. A playlist for my medieval stuff. But yeah, I typically do comic books. And this is called Stain of the Forgotten. So this will be a comic, who knows when. That'll be a very long time from now, because I'm juggling several other comics with Dead Liberty, Blood Hunt, Nadir Archives. Nadir Archives is free to read, so you can get a taste of my writing. You can read that for free on the Graveyard Comics Facebook page or on my TikTok. Can you tell me a little about the creatures in this project? Oh, I missed Smoke. Hello, Smoke. Smoked fish. That's dope, but does it clap? I've never heard that expression. I'm like, I wanted a witty response, but I can't think of anything. Chill, if I take some drawing tips from you, of course. You know, I like to explain my process, and so you know, just watching me draw or ink, and you know, there's takeaways you get from watching an artist draw, and because everything is about their decision making and why they do something, what tools they use, what paper they use, you know, things you don't even think about. Um, but yeah, I typically do like my tips and stuff on lives.
Let's face it, most of us aren't gonna
But yeah, if you have any questions, I can answer some of those. To answer Minion's question about the creatures in this project. So, just a general overview. What's going on with King Solomon? He's been the anointed king, so he's been chosen to finish off the remaining dragons. There has been dragons existing in this world, and it has been a problem. But now he's on this like crusade with his knights to kind of finish finish the killing off the remaining dragons. So we will see other creatures besides dragons, but that's his quest. His quest, his campaign is supposed to be killing off the rest of the dragons. But of course, we'll see other things. As far as creatures, I have so many creatures. I have to limit myself. I feel like I make a new creature every day. I made a new creature yesterday. So here's the thing. Some of the main ones are the lizard people, and the skeletons are kind of like main creatures that are like most important. There are like orcs and goblins and stuff like that, but they don't look. You Minions already seen them, but for anyone else listening, they look a little more monstrous. And I'll show some of the cards, because you will see some of that. Some of these other cards. These cards that I'm gonna show are for my Patreon. For the $10 tier, you pick which card, and then I'll redraw the card, and I'll use a light box to get the general shape, and then finish it off. But here's a Liberator from Dead Liberty. So these cards are from Dead Liberty. There's Blood Hunt. More Dead Liberty characters. And then these cards are from Nadir Archives, the Free to Read series. So let's move on over. There's a lot of these in here. And here is the Primordial Timeline, which is Stain of the Forgotten. And so I'm also thinking with the when these are scaled down to trading card size, one of the chase cards that can be there, I can add one of these like hand-drawn cards and colored, and then I'll write something else on the back so it's different from the ones on the Patreon. So here are the Soldiers of Faith that we're looking at here. Here's one of the undead, one of the skeletons. That's a goblin. That's a mountain goblin. That's an orc. It's kind of like a higher up. That's a orc with a helmet. That's a cyclops. That's a giant. That's one of the lizard people. I do want to do more lizard people, because I have a lot of different variations that they can come in. Okay, so let me keep reading the comments. Can you tell me about the goblins, mountain goblins, and other creatures? So all the creatures that are non-human are called savages. That's what the kingdoms call them. So from the savages, we kind of break them down into different categories and stuff like that. So the orcs and goblins are in the same family called goblinoids. Goblinoids also include trolls, which I haven't showed you guys. I don't have one here. There's a couple of types of goblins. There's also the feral goblin and the hobgoblin. The hobgoblins are a bit smaller, and the feral goblins are kind of the most beastly of the goblins. The Cyclops is in the giant family, and then the lizard people are descendants of the dragons, and they won't let you forget it. It's in everything they do, their architecture. The lizard people are the most advanced of the savages. Yeah. Okay. Some of the lore about these sick drawings. I just found your channel. I really appreciate that. Do you draw in Photoshop? Sometimes. I just did a drawing on Photoshop not too long ago. But here's the thing about Photoshop. I mainly use Photoshop when I color, and when I draw in Photoshop, I can draw in Photoshop. I just prefer pen and ink, more familiar with that, I'm better with that. But if I like make a horrible mistake on a drawing, or I really want to remaster some artwork, for example, the Free to Read series, Nadir Archives, I started that in 2022. So some of the faces look really bad. I feel like I've improved a lot since 2022. And so I'm going to remaster some of the faces. And when I remaster, I redraw the faces digitally and keep the rest of the traditional artwork. You know what I mean? But most recently, I just wanted to try a Photoshop painting. Like just color a drawing from the ground up and just Photoshop. And so I drew up a light sketch, and then I tried to build the rest with color instead of my cross-hatching and normal line work. I'll be posting that on the Discord at some point, but I'll do that once I finish posting the covers I've done for Dynamite Comics. Okay, I'm just reading the comments. And once the dragons are killed, do they use the parts of the body like a trophy or something? Yeah, I have an idea for some of the stuff, specifically with a different creature that would happen in this card set. But I don't know if I want to talk about that too much. But I was thinking about some stuff with, you know, like, different things that we can use, like, you know, trophy stuff. And things like scales and things like that. But, you know, we won't see much of that. It's hard to explain without spoiling too much. Okay. The savages are seen as lower than humans. They're definitely not as advanced as humans. The humans are, you know, they have like, they're in like the medieval kind of like technological, you know, period as far as like their weapons and stuff like that. And they're just outnumbered. The humans are like, there's so many humans compared to like the creatures. Numbers is kind of the best bet in their technology. While the creatures, there's some like, you know, they could be infighting amongst them as far as like, not all savages are like unified. For example, the lizard people might have orcs as like slaves that they use to kind of help build stuff because orcs are strong. And depending on what time frame are we talking about, because when I plan to do a comic, I plan to do that a little more in the future than the card set. And that was one of the things with this set here I was thinking about, and I was like, oh, that'd be really cool to kind of focus on some of the core events of the story, instead of it just being told as like a flashback, which is originally how I was going to do it. I was like, oh, that'd be cool if we can actively see it and start chronologically a little bit. Yes, I have a Hydra. Hydra is one of my favorite of my designs. I think I will show you guys the Hydra because I've posted like drawings of the Hydra before, so it doesn't feel too crazy. But another thing I'm planning on doing though, I just thought of this for this project. I was thinking of posting some of my sketchbook pages of designs in the Patreon for the $3 tier. Anyone in the $10 and $15 tier obviously would also have access to that. Okay, where's my sketchbook? Oh, there it is. Okay, let me go get that. But let me read the comments, let me catch up on the comments, and then I'll show you the Hydra. Now, the Hydra is not a dragon. It's in, like, it's classified in, the dragon family, as far as my series goes, and, sometimes colloquially called false dragons. And how smart are the other creatures compared to humans? One thing as far as the orcs go, the orcs can speak English, but they won't speak it like fluently. Not that we'd see it in the card set, but as far as the comics, they'll speak in like a broken English. Like and I imagine them having like very gurgly, monstrous voices that they're forcing themselves to speak this human tongue to kind of like let you know, like, oh, I'm gonna make you into a paste, you know what I mean? So they're not gonna be speaking like philosophers. Some of the savages don't speak at all. The lizard people, I imagine them to be some more of the prominent, you know, as far as like a threat goes, especially because I feel like they're what orcs and goblins are to regular fantasy. The lizards are kind of like my main bad guy, you know, as far as that. But let me go show that. So here's the Hydra. If I could flip to the page fast enough. I should have had it ready before I said here's the Hydra. Oh, here it is. What about a serpent? Yes, I have serpents. I have a whole bunch of serpent creatures as well. Okay. I'm just looking at some of the stuff here. I will also show you the proof of concepts I did last year. That's in a different sketchbook, so I have to go get that. Yeah, the Hydra's head was much more inspired by like moray eels than like serpents. But I try to do like a blend. Like if you see it has like a forked tongue. But I love the moray eel. Moray eel is one of my favorites. So that was a sea hydra. I'm just putting these cards away. I need to put out like a folding table so I can have more space for all these papers I'm showing on the lives. Let me just put that away. So here are some of the undead. So this was a proof of concept I did last year. It says 2024, so maybe I probably drew it a little bit before that. And this took me a very long time to ink these proof of concepts. I wish I drew them on like Bristol board paper and not my sketchbook. One, I think that kind of made it take longer as well, but also because sketchbook paper doesn't hold ink as well as like Bristol, and it's also thinner than Bristol, so it's a little more delicate. So I was always scared bringing this with me and working on it. But it was also a pain to scan because of the rings. That Hydra I showed I did in 2022, I think. Yeah, probably. More creatures that I'm not. So here is a knight on horseback here. Now this knight is from a different kingdom called Hycuria. And so with the proof of concepts last year, I was just like thinking to myself, everyone knows me for the medieval, for the sci-fi stuff, war, guns, planes, and tanks, and spaceships, and things like that. So I was like, I don't know if people are gonna like this switch to like medieval stuff. So I was also wanting to play around with backgrounds and setting a scene, not just having cool night sketches in my sketchbook, but like, what would it look like actually having a scene with them? And one of the fun things about it that I really want to play around with, or rather draw, is like scenes of nature and stuff like that, and really make it feel like there's moments of beauty amongst, you know, the carnage and chaos. And I think that's something about nature in that's really nice, and its natural beauty. Why does it remind me of the Black Wing Virus? What's that from? The one with the zombie knights. Black Wing Virus? I don't know what that is from. So here are some of the lizard people. And when I did these proof of concepts, everyone loved them. Like, it was met with overwhelming support on that, and people were like, yes. I've had some people say that they like my medieval stuff more than the typical bread and butter I do, which is hilarious to me. But also good. It kind of makes me feel a little more, comforted, because I'm not really coming from a fantasy background. I don't, I was very late to the game with some of the fantasy stuff, and even to this day, I'm still not like a huge fantasy fan in a lot of things. But here are some wyverns. I like wyverns. So you can see they can ride them. So they got aerial superiority in that sense. So just giving you an idea, that can be used for building structures or just being air striking on people. And you can see we have some different like types of lizard people, as far as like this one's more like an iguana. And if you look at their architecture, they have like, I've tried to think about the mindset of these creatures, the things that are important to them and the things that they value. And one of the things I think about is like an egg, it's like the lizard people were born from eggs. So an egg would symbolize fertility. So I want to have a lot of egg shapes and egg statues and things like that, but also a lot of dragons and wyverns incorporated into their sculptures. And they won't let you forget that they're descendants of dragons. They were created of their blood, born of their blood. And so even their grotesques and gargoyles are made in the image of dragons. And I'm also kind of like blending in a little bit of a Romanesque kind of architecture when designing some of this stuff here. So this is one of their shrines. Here we can see some of the other creatures. That's a drake. So they're riding a drake. And that's a tassel worm that it's riding. So those are pretty cool. These guys are specific. The riders are specific units, and they have specific armor. And so they're much more specialized and elite in that sense. Drakes are not true dragons in my series. And what I mean by that is true dragons have a sentience to them. They're intelligent. They're not just beasts like these, you know, drakes and wyverns, which were born of, you know, the dragons as well. The fantasy stuff allows for more creative OCs. Absolutely. Especially, I can design, like, the most random thing, and then I can kind of come up with the backstory for it afterwards, and there's so much fun that I'm having, and I'm just having, like, creating all these wild different creatures and things like that. I pet that dog. Which one? The the wyvern or the drake? And I was like, okay, let me try doing an action scene now. And this one is, I call it the Wyvern in Stoop. And so here we have one of the Knights of Gryffindor, which is a different kingdom. And he's just gotten dropped on by a wyvern. And we can see some more wyverns circling in the clouds. I kind of wanted it to feel almost like sharks circling in the water, but like cloud sharks kind of circling the clouds. Oh, the drake. And he's and I was thinking when it would breathe fire, this guy's extra toast, by the way. So not only is he like probably gonna fall, but like this thing's about to like breathe fire, if you can see that here, and the eyes kind of go blank when it breathes fire, so it doesn't blind itself. Star Wars. I've heard of like the Death Troopers. Is that the same thing? It takes over the human and makes them into zombies. I guess because they're both armored, kind of zombie-like things. You know, skeletons. The Black Wing virus is from Star Wars, but it takes over a person like a hive mind and basically kills the person and makes them into a zombie. I would say that my undead skeletons are not like zombies. You don't get bit by them and turned into a zombie. There is certain things that has to happen in order for your skeleton to kind of reanimate, though. Okay, so I think that's that for the what was I saying? The my brain. I think that's for the well, I'm dying here. My brain just like disconnected. It's connected to the Wi-Fi. Give it a second. The preliminary sketches. That's it for the preliminary sketches. Let me move this over. And so yeah, so I think what I'll do is for some of the creatures that will like appear in the card set, I'm going to post those exclusively to the $3 tier in the Patreon so people could get some early access on that and see those. I personally don't like really posting my pencil sketches because to me they almost feel unfinished. But I'm like, well, if it's not something I post, I can post it on the Patreon so they have something exclusive to see, and it's not like I'm going to post it other places. You know, I'll resist posting it other places because they're in pencil. And I typically don't like to post my concept art or even show some of my concept art until some of the characters appeared in published media or if I'm close to publishing. You know, for like copyright reasons and stuff like that, or people stealing my stuff, I'll be like, beat you to it if you try to steal. But, you know, but anyways, I think that's good. I think most people are not going to steal for the most part. But anyways, as far as posting that, I think that's also cool for like early access, again, to the patrons. Talking about the knights. Yeah, I meant my skeleton knights. Yeah, they're undead, but they're not like zombies, you know? They're not like... I said undead because undead... Skeletons are undead, you know? Undead is anything that was once alive died and is now moving around. So technically, vampires are undead too, as well. I'm already planning on making an OC for this. In this world? That'd be really cool. Everyone's been telling me, like, when I talk about some of the creatures and some of the stuff, they've been saying, like, oh, dude, like, this would make such a cool, like, a D&D type game. And I think that largely comes from the fact that I'm more inspired by video games than other comic books and things like that when it comes to creating worlds. I don't just design a cool drawing. I try to imagine what it does, what it eats. How does it react to other creatures? You know, how does it move? How does it sound? Even though, who knows when we'll ever get to see any of this, like, you know, alongside other things or whatever. And sometimes, you know, like, the guy I'm working on here, these guys, I designed them in 2022. So, I was wrapping up my bachelor's degree in college at that time when I was working on that. And so it's kind of sad to me a little bit, because I'm like, damn, you know, it's just taking years before any of my cool ideas see the light of day. So I made a creature yesterday. And who knows when that will ever be appearing, you know, maybe another, like, 5 or 10 years, who knows. And so, if I'm being real, that's one of the parts that is a little sad for me. It's a little depressing, seeing that some of my ideas don't see the light of day for years later. But at least whatever project I'm currently working on, at least those characters are getting to see the light of day and stuff. I think I have an idea why you don't try to make, like, a group of knights like that. Wait, hold on, let me read this. I think I have an idea. Why don't you try to make a group of knights that are executioners? In what sense? Because I do have a lot of ideas. Like, I've been working for all my series, really. They have years of me, like, putting things together and planning stuff. But also at the same time, I kind of don't want to just start listing off all my ideas for two reasons. Aside from, you know, the fact that I'm not ready to get to some of that stuff, some of the stuff is just, we won't see it for a long time. And, you know, I don't want to be talking about things that we will see, like, way later, and then people are like, I kind of want to just get to that part already, you know. And it's like, I still have to build up the story. I still have to, you know, have context and all that. Like, especially, like, with Dead Liberty, there's characters that I'm dying to show you guys, but I have to set everything up. Like, it's like a chess game. I was always like this too with chess. Before I start trying to capture any pieces, I have to set up my castle, and I have to always put it the same way. I have to set my bishops up the right way. I have to set my rooks up. I have to castle my king and move that over, and then move my queen over. So it takes me a lot of steps. But meanwhile, people are, like, capturing my pawns and stuff like that and setting their things up. And then by the time I've finished my castle, I've created an instrument of destruction. I'm like, oh, you messed up if you let me get to finish my construction. Now, as far as, like, having a lot of characters on a scene, going back to what we were talking about before, like big battles and stuff like that, I have to be kind of smart with how I do it, because they are getting scaled down to trading card size. So I will show you one of the cards I did. Oh shit, where'd I put it? Oh, here it is. So this was a test, scaling down to what the card is gonna be sized at in real life. So here's my thumb for comparison. So we can see some of the detail here, but you can't see, like, all the detail as far as, like, the details on their eyes or even the chainmail, but I'm still drawing that detail. And so if someone just really wants that artwork and not like for the cards and stuff, I will be making prints that will be a 1-to-1 scale, which is 5x7, and you can see the chainmail a little bit better. But even this was kind of small. I'm so glad I worked on this larger size and started scaling down, because part of me originally thought to do this on 1-to-1 scale, just straight up drawing it on cards. There's no way I could have drawn this on the card. I'm cutting it kind of close here as far as getting a full body in here and all this scene, kind of like a landscape kind of shot, no one really in a full foreground, and I'm cutting it very close there and we don't see a lot of detail. And so with the other cards going forward, I think I definitely want to stay more in line with having like characters in the foreground, paying more attention to how I'm framing things, because again, they're going to be shrunk down. It's okay with you. Could give me some good tips to try making my own monsters? Yes, of course. I would say when it comes to drawing monsters, first of all, we have to think, what's your genre? Are you doing a fantasy story? Are you doing a horror story? Think about the monster. Think about your genre. Your genre will kind of dictate everything in terms of the look, the creature. Is it horror? Is it sci-fi horror? Is it fantasy horror? There's a lot that goes into play with that. And then, of course, what kind of monster do you want to make? I can show some doodles of monsters I've done. I've done these on the live. So here's one monster. I'll just flip through a couple of these. And I just did these with pen and ink. With just pen, sometimes a red pen. And, this one's a demon. So I try to make them all different from each other. I try to think about the silhouette of the creature and, how human it is. If I want it to be more humanoid or, completely different. So I go much more surrealist when I'm designing, like, monsters. So when it comes to an undead monster, as you're saying, think about things like their anatomy. Think about the muscles. If you want to have like skin peeling off or things like that. I'm just flipping through some of those. Here's a possessed pumpkin. So those are kind of old. I did those in like 2022. Just a collection of like monsters and stuff I've done on lives. I'll skip a little more because I've done a lot. Let's go to some more recent ones. And when I say recent, I mean like the last couple of years maybe. So yeah, I kind of specialize in horror, action, war stories, things like that. Alright. So I kind of think about, the human body, and I twist things, and I pull things, and I rip, and try to see kind of how the body's going to look. I like to say it's kind of like a paper. If I take a piece of paper and I crumple it up, each time, if I do that 100 times, each one will be different from each other. So I try to think about the human body and what parts of the body I can peel the skin off or, break the bones and twist things backwards, pull things, and play around with the anatomy. It deleted your long message. I'm sorry to hear that. That's weird that it deleted it on YouTube. When I changed tabs. Oh, okay, that's what happened. Oh, that's unfortunate still. I'm planning on making a hunter OC who kills savages, wears some of their bones and skin from them for a cape. That sounds cool. And fits in line with what we have. Maybe to give a tip when you're doing another demon, maybe add like some human parts, like faces and hands. Yeah. I've done a lot of drawings. Been at it for a while. I think I've done just about everything at this point when people give me suggestions and tips and stuff. Not so much tips. I think tips is more like process based, but I'm more in the suggestion side of things. There's certain times someone will suggest something, and I'm just like, oh, this person didn't read my books. I'm specifically thinking about Section 6. When I had that, when I was on a TikTok live and someone was suggesting some stuff, and I'm like, oh man, bro needs to read that. But I also don't want to spoil my story and be like, yo, go read those latest batch of pages. The only thing I'm okay at is drawing Star Wars ships. So the good thing about drawing is it's all skill based. And I believe you can improve and draw other things as well. For me, drawing people was something that took a very long time. It took me a long time to, get the hang of drawing people, and even then, there's still things I can improve on. So don't feel too bad. And as far as the tips and stuff and improving, you got to break down the human body into simple shapes. But also, think about the clothing, think about the posing. So there's a lot that goes into drawing a human. So don't feel too bad when it's like, oh, I can't draw a human, I suck at drawing. It's just that a human comes with a lot, For this knight here, if you watched me draw the pencils on it, I would have drawn just a naked human. I would say draw your character's butt-ass naked first, and then start layering the clothes and armor on top of them, because the clothes and armor are reactive to the pose of the body and to the anatomy of the body. There's also a bit of memorizing that you have to do, and it will take time. You're not going to improve, you'll improve in a day, sure, if you learn, and then you'll see like a massive improvement, but it still may not be enough to be like mastering a particular thing. And you just have to give yourself time practicing and applying that thing. Opinion, the hardest thing for me to draw as a human is the hands, the faces, and somewhat other parts. Yeah, most people struggle with those things. Those are common things. As far as drawing hands, you got to break the hands down. Think about, I like to say cylinders, and if you have a hand here, and I draw a cylinder, and that's the finger. All right, simple, right? But if I bend it, oval, or cylinder as well, think about where the bends are in the joints. And then if it's pointing to you, I do more circular shapes. And then I would do like ovular shape, and then circular shape for this part that's going in depth. So that's kind of how I break it down. And I kind of think of that for like body parts, like limbs, like if a leg is, if he brings his knee up to us, I'll do like a circular shape for the thigh that we can't see, and then the knee is like pointing to you. And then I could do a long side ovular area for the shin.
With Wendy's new Biggie Deals, you can snack any way you want. Because I'm not just a bag, I'm one of 3 Biggie Deals you can choose from. Shotgun. Consider me a passenger princess. A Biggie Deal for any size hunger, only at Wendy's.
Hotels.com introduces Save Your Way. Choose how you
Okay. Let's keep reading.
Rewards for a future trip. save your life.
Are some of the creatures cannibals? I would say so. I would say they definitely could be. And knowing how many things I've drawn with like snarling teeth and stuff like that. Just curious, you got any of the Knights cannibals? At this current time, I don't think I've written any that are cannibals. I'm thinking of one, and I'm like, does it count? Does he eat? Does he bite? Or just bite? But that's far from now. I'm not up to that character. I have the design for the character, I have an idea for a character, but you know, it's gonna be some time. Making them a cannibal. Because I think even like lizards in real life, I think most lizards are cannibals. So like it wouldn't be too out of the realm. However, as far as my lizard people, they would have to be like a civilization, because they're, you know, if they allowed it, you know, it would have to be like maybe a regional thing. Maybe some lizard groups do, maybe some don't. Maybe it's like, oh, okay, this one failed us, or, you know, he's a heretic, so we can eat his flesh or whatever. That would be fun. But I can definitely see the orcs kind of eating each other, as I kind of see the orcs to be more like savages. You know, like barbarians. Yes. Do you have any knights yet that will backstab someone? I definitely love stories of betrayal. I think it's something that, you know, is profound. I've experienced plenty of betrayals in my life. I think, you know, there's something that I can't write a story without having some form of betrayal here and there. I think it's something so visceral, because it's like, you expect to be attacked by a monster. You expect to be, you know, attacked from an enemy. But being betrayed will always come from a trusted person. You know, always be a friend that betrays you. And, you know, as a writer, there's a lot you can express with that. You know, a lot of mixed emotions and confusion of a character. There's so much. Oh, it's so fun. I love writing those type of characters. And Kaylee be lurking. I don't know why it doesn't count Kaylee though. So we have Minion, Dave, and Kaylee. Kaylee's like a ghost. It says 2 people, but I know Kaylee be there lurking. We also have a Discord channel. Dave, I don't know if you want to join that. You don't have to, but I'm just letting you know that that's available. On the Discord, you get updates on my projects. You can post your own artwork in the general art channel. You get updates on when I go live and what platform I go live. I think if I go live tomorrow, I'm thinking of doing it on TikTok, just to show TikTok some love. I typically do the lives on TikTok, but lately I've been focusing more on YouTube, because my following on YouTube is like tiny compared to, my TikTok. But and then I don't want like all my eggs in one basket, you know what I mean? Like if TikTok gets shut down, banned, or whatever. Also, I've just been in 300 view jail on TikTok, and it's kind of a mood killer. So I'm just kind of, I don't know. I feel like I got all I could out of TikTok. I got to my goal, which was 10K, and I feel like, you know, I've conquered all the lands on TikTok. You know, every once in a while I'll get like a sponsored item, which is pretty cool. So I guess that's one of the good things about TikTok. I still like to be able to post that I could swipe on. Check out this that I got from a TikTok sponsor. An electric eraser. Now that's something I never would have bought, but if they gave it to me, and it's actually cool. It's something I never would have, you know, taken. I mean, or went out to buy. But I can say it actually is good. You know, they have different sizes. And you know it's good because I'm on a whole different platform. I'm on YouTube. You know, I'm not telling anyone to go on my TikTok shop or anything. But we have the bigger erasers and the smaller one. You press on this thing, and it spins. so I can get like little detailed areas. I'm gonna use it right now without having to kind of like erase you know, in an area. Now I do have small erasers that I typically would have used for that, but this does have its place if I kind of just want to touch it, just a little tap and get it gone. Or I could just, you know, use it like a regular eraser. Batteries not included. It takes 2 AAA batteries, and it's so simple, and I'm like, wow, that's cool. Looks like something from Five Below. I already did my part with them on TikTok, so I made their videos. Although I hope I don't get in trouble, because there was something on their end. They gave me a different link, and now I'm scared because it's like it looks like I didn't make the videos for them, and it's like I did, but I did it on their other link. So I'm hoping I don't get wrongfully like hit with like a negative score that I didn't make content for a sponsor. I'm also gonna base the character on Ava 1 in a way. Oh, that sounds cool. Looks like something from... Okay, read that. A ghost. Everyone's coming for Kaylee. I got an idea of what the main character, like a friend or a close friend, backstabs them. Are you talking about like for a story that you're writing? You're listening. You need to reload. You're live. Is that what it is? Wait. Okay. I gotta say, you know, drawing the medieval stuff might be, maybe it's just like I'm drawing it right now and I'm all excited for it, but it's been probably one of the most fun things. And Blood Hunt was also really fun. I think the most fun things I've had working on my comics and stuff like that, if I can picture a moment that I'm like, oh, I'm having a blast, I'm a comic book artist, getting all crazy. Working on Blood Hunt, was a high. Like, I loved working on Blood Hunt. He was such a fun character to draw, you know, because I get to work on like the muscles, the cape. The guns slowed it down a bit. The guns are fun when I'm doing the initial like rough pencils, but then when I gotta sit there and actually draw all the details on the gun, I'm like, okay, it's kind of like killing my vibe a little bit because it takes so long to get them, you know, exactly and everything. And then also got really excited drawing some of the stuff for Nadir, some of the space stuff. If you know about the tour, without spoiling, that's what I'm talking about. The things regarding the tour, which should be no surprise to anyone who's not new to watching my stuff. And then for the medieval stuff, I'm just having a blast, you know, because I get to work with, like, I don't have to draw the things I don't like, as far as like, I don't want to say things I don't like, because I like guns and stuff. I just, drawing them is a pain in the ass, and that's fine. But what's even more of a pain is like, you know, backgrounds for that, like, you know, skyscrapers and cities and streetlights and windows and stuff like that. It's such a pain in the ass. At least I get to draw like Gothic cathedrals and medieval castles and stuff like that. So when I do get to draw like buildings and stuff, you know, if it's not like a big structure like a castle or a cathedral, it could be just like a little stone or wooden hut or house, you know, medieval house or whatever. And that's not too bad. But then I get to draw a lot of trees and things like that, and that's fun. So I could fill out a background real quick. I have some more drawings. I'll show 2 more right here. Here's another lizard person I did at, I was at Five Guys. No, just drew that. And then I inked it on a live. So here's another lizard person. So here we have another variation. And they could come in different colors too. Like, I'm picturing this one green with red stripes, but I can scan this and maybe make a blue one with like pink stripes. I think that would be kind of cool. And then here was a test drawing I did. Here's an orc with a helmet. And then the background, I was like, I feel like this is going to look cooler if I have a background for it. Because I wanted to really test heavier shadows than I typically did. I knew I wanted to do that going forward with the medieval stuff. But I wanted to actually like do a test run on it. And for the backgrounds, I did that with a brush tip pen. Japanese brush tip. And so, you know, real quick, just threw on some trees and shit and it's like done. Background, there you go. And the fun thing about like that brush there too is like I made these trees just out of simple lines. If I did it with a regular, you know, like felt tip fine liner, each line would have looked the same, but it kind of gives it a more organic feel because it's like tapered lines and stuff, the brushes. And that was pretty fun. He looks like he killed lots of knights. He kills lots of anybody, knights, people. Sometimes I have the orcs with like lizard people skulls on their shoulder pads and stuff like that. The orcs are a dying race though. You know, I mean, brawn can only take you so far when you're competing against, you know, other things. Of course, also, you know, you got to keep in mind the lizard people have tamed like some wyverns and stuff like that. So like an orc could just be like winning a fight and all of a sudden they call in like the Sky Cavalry and just like a wyvern just flies down, just like toasts everybody. But yeah, I mean they're pretty big though. You know, we got these guys, some human skulls. And when I draw orcs, I try to make them more monstrous. You know, they don't have hair, they don't have noses like a human. You know, they're not just green people. They are monsters. They are, you know, I gave them like overbites and big fangs and teeth. And when I put these cool helmets with the little holes, I think I like them even more with the helmets on because it makes them feel even more like some kind of berserker. Which is funny because I was originally never going to put any goblins or orcs as one of the things that, you know, I didn't really like those in a lot of fantasy stuff. And also, I thought I was going to set my stuff a little bit apart. But then I was like, I'm writing a fantasy story. I know a lot of people like orcs and goblins. Let's throw it in as a consideration, but let's do it my way. Let's take something that I don't think is that cool and let's make it cool to my personal taste and make them more monstrous. And, you know, then I started liking them a bit. Like they're really fun because I get to do all this different, you know, armor, you know, barbaric kind of armor and stuff that, you know, and I get to have the big muscles and stuff coming from my superhero projects. And then with the knights, I have like my capes and stuff coming from my superhero stuff. So I still get to draw cool capes and big muscles, armor, you know, I draw like sci-fi war stuff. So, you know, still doing war stuff, still drawing armored guys at war. Save the orcs are dying out. But the orcs also kind of have their own infighting amongst each other. So the orcs are like in war bands. You know, they're not unified. So my OC would fit with the orcs. So if you make like an orc OC, oh my god, or are you thinking of making like a human? Okay, so we are. If you ever try making one like piercing a knight with its weapon, I'm sure that'll happen. I haven't drawn anything like that. Like I've already showed, you know, the proof of concepts and the proof of concepts were like the only real scenes I've drawn before these cards, and so the cards will have more scenes. And we will see the orcs in the card set as well. So that's very well to happen. But I only drew thumbnails for the first 5. I think I'm going to just do the other ones. You know, I have faith in my ability to have composition and stuff like that just for one. you know, for comics, definitely always do outlines. When I'm working on the covers for Dynamite Comics, the sketch covers, I always make the outlines. But for this, I feel like I kind of just want to let myself go a little free with it, and you know, kind of using like my own understanding of framing, balance, rule of thirds, negative space. Rule of thirds is very helpful, I think, as far as like a simple one. You know, there's the golden ratio as well. I'm sure when I die, someone is probably gonna like use it on all my cards and be like, "Yo, look at the golden ratio he used. It leads you right to here." It's like a snail shell leading your eye directly around. Okay, let's not make this too easy for them. It's like the Da Vinci Code, the J Code. That's so funny. Kaylee, save the orcs. I need to have some characters that are like, save the orcs, and then meanwhile, like, the orcs would just kill those characters if the orcs get their hands on them. That's so ridiculous. It's a good thing shit like that doesn't happen in real life. Okay, so let's start wrapping up soon, but let me get a little bit of ink in here, and then I'll try to wrap up. I think we'll end on getting as much as we can on this guy. Dude, you need to. I don't want the orcs going extinct. Kaylee's gonna be flying like a green flag on her tavern. Why don't you try doing like some elite knights for special forces? I have. So I have different kingdoms. So, for example, I have one elite knight force for the kingdom of Gryffindor. Those guys are called the Aurorum Guard. They have like golden armor. That's gonna be so cool. It's gonna be a bitch to draw. And then for Vimor, the kingdom of Vimor, we had the Vimor Lancers. So these guys on the horseback. I don't know if you would count these guys as elites, but they're the main backbone of the main fighting force of the kingdom of Vimor. So they're knights. So they're better than soldiers. So all knights are gonna be better than a soldier. You know, a swordsman wearing like leather armor and a kettle hat, and maybe wearing like, or pikemen using pikes, or crossbowmen. A knight is already elite. You know, if you got someone walking around in knight armor, like that's already elite as it gets. So if I'm talking about elite knights, which I do have elite knights, they are already the elite of the elite at that point. Because also you keep in mind, like, especially like knights and stuff, they've been training to be a knight for many, many years, since they were but a squire themselves. Not only that, but like trained in different things, such as like riding on horseback, you know, moving around in their armor. You know, it's become second nature to them. You know, their weapons that they use, various weapons they use. And then I can definitely have people that wear knight armors that aren't knights, like mercenaries. A 5 times multiplier for the orcs. Well, they're definitely strong. The orcs are definitely a lot stronger than just like one knight. But the thing about orcs, though, orcs can be, their warbands can have other races, more so like the giants and cyclopses. Giants are not very common, though. But, you know, they can have their, orc warband can consist of like goblins and other orcs and like a cyclops or an ogre. Now you guys know there's an ogre. I slipped accidentally. So spoiled that I have ogres. An accent for a monster. I've done like I've done like voices and stuff like, you know, for myself, just goofing around, of like how the orcs would talk specifically. But I'm far too embarrassed to do it on YouTube. If you catch me on TikTok, I'll do it on TikTok. But on YouTube, my videos get re-uploaded, so I would turn beet red. I also designed how the orcs specifically, how they would talk. So in their own language, I have put together a couple of different letters that create a sound. So in the comic, when I make them talk their own language, it'll be that series of letters when they speak, like the sound that that their voices sound like to the human ear. A mean orc gurgle. Dyslexic. Did I say something? Did I read something wrong? Should I subscribe? Only if you want to. But what I will say though is you can read the free to read stuff, you know, get a taste of my writing if you want, on the Graveyard Comics Facebook page or on my TikTok for the Nadir Archives, which is the one that I was talking about that's more sci-fi with space stuff. And you sound like you like Star Wars, so you might like that because there's like space stuff and you know, they got like armors and stuff like that. They don't have like plasma weapons though. They only have like bullets. Is the sky blue? Yeah, I'll never beg someone to sub. I may ask nicely for people to read my books though. and I don't want to ever ask people for like money or anything, but like I have a free to read series, so I don't mind asking that too much. I'm like, it's free. I'll be like, come on, you know you're gonna read it one day when I get big and everyone's gonna be like, oh, I was reading that from OG. No, I'm kidding. You're gonna read it anyway. Yes, that's the other thing too. That's why I think the Discord's really great too, because like at least two, when I meet people on the lives, I get too mushy. I'm like, oh man, that person was cool. I wonder if I'll ever cross paths with them again, if I'll ever see them on the live again. But on the Discord is cool because then I see people making friends with each other, showing each other's artwork, and knowing that okay, you know, like things seem to be going well for this person. They're not like lost in cyberspace. I think the next live, if I do one tomorrow, I think might be doing that on TikTok. I just read your comment. Every subscribe, one new orc. Now, I do want to say real quick, by this point in time, during the reign of Solomon, there are plenty of orcs. They're not a dying race yet. That's something that'll happen by the time we get to the point where we're doing like the comic series. They'll be a dying race. But right now, you know, they're doing fine for anyone who's really concerned about the orcs. Save the orcs. It's so funny. It would be so funny if that became like a thing and everyone's just like joking around. It's like, save the orcs. And then like new fans read the comics and stuff. And they see the orcs are just like bodying, like one hit killing people, just like ripping them apart. Predator style, ripping the spines out of a character's back. And they're like, oh shit. I typically go live 12 a.m. Eastern time. That's a good question. I didn't mention that. Sometimes I'm a little late. I'll let the Discord know. I'll be like, I'm really late. They shall never go extinct. If you do, I'm gone. Kaylee's like, I'm one of the orcs. And I enjoy every scene. I know you would, Minnie. I feel like my sword's a little off here, so I'm gonna fix that. I need my ruler. What's the knight's religion? I typically am going with a more Judeo-Christian kind of angle. As for the way I write things, as far as like spiritual elements of, you know, more dark forces. So I will say demons do exist, but the less I talk about demons, the better, because, oh man, I can't wait to make the demons and stuff, but that won't be for a long time, so I won't talk too much about it. I'll try, like, as far as like how I'm writing it, I'm not trying to make it like preachy though. In the sense of like that. So I'm also trying to make it more how do I say it? I'm trying to walk a line. Like, for one thing, I'll never make God a character. I'll never reduce God to a character. So I think in that way of how I'm writing it kind of keeps it like mystical, in a sense of, you know, the unseen realm. But like, if I have demons and I'm making them more of like, you know, these horror type of things, I can't write this that way. And then like, if the demons were just on their own, you know, they would win. They would be already taking over the world and stuff like that, you know, or killing everything. So there has to be something holding the demons back, or preventing the demons from really getting into the physical world. But I think that kind of makes my series feel even darker at times, when you keep in mind like those very that bleak kind of element of the unseen. I don't know if that made sense. Okay, let me just try to fix this. Okay. I'll read the comments in a second. We know how you draw demons. Yes, I really don't want to talk too much about them because that's not the primary focus. Because I do want to focus more on some of the more fantasy element or the creatures and stuff like that, because that's something I don't really get to do in my other stories and stuff like that. Not that I really get to see demons in the other stories either, but I have my horror comic that, you know, Project Ghost, that will be kind of like heavily, you know, on like monsters and stuff like that. So, you know, try not to overlap too not so much overlap, but steal the spotlight, you know. Not yet anyway. Why don't you try to make a plague that like will make the nights go crazy and everything? There's certain things again where I'm like, there's elements that like kind of echo things that I've done or plan to do or might interfere with things I have to do, but I'm also like, I don't like to say certain things because I also don't want to spoil things either. But you know, I kind of just have to say, I hope you'll be interested and like what ends up happening. I've been writing for quite some time, so a lot of the story is already developed. So I'm not really at the brainstorming stage. Once I start putting out products, it doesn't feel right to me to put products out in a brainstorm stage. When I'm putting out products and I'm selling things, at that point I'm already like, the story's kind of rigid. It's you know, I kind of have an idea of tight writing and storytelling and, you know, the world that I've created. Welcome back, Belinda. We are ending soon though, so I'm just trying to get some of the general form in here and then we'll head out. Okay, yeah, so is your name the same on TikTok? You'll just have to let me know and be like, oh, it's me. I was on your YouTube live. Yes, okay. How's your headache doing, Minion? If I'm not busy studying. Are you in the same time zone? You don't have to tell me where you live or anything, but are you in the same time zone? What time is it for you right now? A different image of my county. Yeah, it's normally hard for me to really see the profile pictures. Especially here on YouTube. On TikTok, it's a little easier. I could click it and then it comes up. Okay, so yeah, for me it's 2 a.m. So West Coast people, because no one's up this late watching me here. Okay, so I think we're just about done here. As we start to wrap up, I just want to say thank you everyone for your interest and enthusiasm for my project. I always am like very grateful when people show interest in my work, especially because I spent years making all these stories and writing these stories. You know, I didn't just come up with it as I go. You know, a lot of this stuff has been brewing and been in development for several years. And especially the medieval stuff here, I'm just extra grateful because like there was a deep like insecurity for it because like it's something new that you know and I'm not known for doing. It's very much outside of my box, except for like when I get to design creatures and stuff. So that might be fun. But you know, there are things that like my trademarks that are kind of showing over here. Like if you like detailed artwork, if you like monsters, and if you like how I write war stories and have structured soldiers, they're not just guys with guns running around, or in this case guys with swords running around. There's like, you know, rank and file and chapters and orders and stuff like that, you know, depending on what story we're working on. Even as far as like whatever I'm working on, I do a good amount of research on, you know, as far as things like my cathedrals and stuff. I've actually taken classes on Gothic architecture and medieval history and things like that. You know, it's not going to be a history book. I'm sure if I get someone come out one day and be like, that would never happen, you'd never see a knight wearing that kind of helmet, using that kind of weapon, you know, I would say, yeah, you never would, because like this is the primordial timeline and we live in a different timeline. But also, you know, I'm allowing for some, you know, I try to put a good amount of believability here and there, but also like this is not an armor that existed in real life. I understand how armor works. I understand how chainmail is, how layering, how the different plates kind of come together, and then kind of design my own thing with how I know the armors work. And that's how I could get something kind of believable and not super crazy fantasy. But you know, that's how I know I made it. If I have somebody shitting on it, that's gonna be that'll be that. So let me just close my pens here, read the final comments, and give off the last refreshers, or announcements rather. We all on the West Coast. Everyone's the West Coast. That's so funny. I'm the only one on the East Coast, that's right. I'm the odd one out. If you finish the TikTok one, are you going to do one for YouTube as well? No. Because I end the lives at like 2 a.m. I just like how a content creator actually talks about art and do drawings talking to the viewers. I appreciate that. And I hear that a lot. I hear a lot of people, like one of the main things as far as people like watching my stuff and coming to the lives, they say that they like that I actually read the comments. And I'm like, you poor soul. Where have you come from? What kind of art lives have you come from? I think to me, it's just like, I know that it's a human being on the other end typing, and also, especially like being here on TikTok, on YouTube, I'm kind of like starting from scratch again as far as my audience goes, it seems. Like we're back to like 3 views. I remember when I was getting 3 views when I first started TikTok lives. And so, you know, it's a little humbling, but also I think it's like, it's great because it's like, I'm not here with like hundreds of people watching me. The least I could do is like talk to like the people here. And even if I did have a lot of people watching, I would still try my best to respond to everyone. Because again, I know it's a real person on the other end of the phone. And as far as like, you know, talking about art is like, that's what I'm here for. Like, I am art. Like, I am art all day, all night, eat, sleep, and crap art. You know, that's all I have. And so I love nothing more than to talk about art and answer people's art questions and stuff like that, you know, especially when it comes to like questions about my stories, like even better. I feel like I don't often get to talk about my stories, which makes me a bad businessman, but also I know I get too excited and I start spoiling myself. That's why I need to calm down. I get too excited, start talking too much, and then I start spoiling things for my story. Okay. And don't apologize to the grammar, it's fine. Why am I staying up right now? I have testing. You have to go do your test. Yeah, so we're gonna end here too. So you don't worry, you're not missing anything. Let's get my goodbye music here. And I'm so glad you found us. And so yes, I just want to say Discord link in the description here. Tomorrow's live might be on TikTok, 12 a.m. Eastern time. And free to read comic series on the Graveyard Comics Facebook page and on my TikTok. Other series on Amazon, that's Dead Liberty, is on Amazon. Also available on ebook, Kindle. And then I'm working on these trading cards. Okay. Lucky for me, I'm on break. Nice. How come you're not on break, Dave? Yeah, it's like spring break right now. That's why I'm trying to do more lives. Because lately I'm only able to go live on the weekends. But right now we're on break. We're on spring break. Yes, good luck with your testing. Alright, if I can get my music to play. I'm trying to get my goodbye music. Alright, maybe it'll turn on as I say goodbye. Okay, I don't want my battery to die on me while I'm talking either. So, I'm gonna unfortunately have to stop working on this as well here because I will be working on trying to get in more progress on finishing some more cards for Dynamite Comics with the next sketch cards that I'm working on them with. Okay. For my school, we're not on break. Areas already passed. Interesting. Alright. So thank you so much, everyone, again, for watching my videos, watching my lives, following me, or everything you do that helps, if you know a friend that likes comics, that likes sci-fi, that likes horror, that likes medieval stuff, that likes war stuff, or superheroes, or just likes art, sharing the live and the comics, letting people know I exist is more important than even buying a book. The best way people can help me is letting people know I exist. So yeah, just let someone know, be like, hey, this guy got some free comics you can read. But anyways, you want to get some nightmares? No, but yeah, so thank you for all your support and all your help on that end. I can't do it without you. So I really appreciate it. And I had fun. Thank you so much for letting me talk about my work that I've been working on for like the last few years. I'm going to make a fool of myself. How long has it been? Almost 10 years. Easy math. 2016, 2017, 2018 was 10 years in the making for the medieval stuff. And I had no idea when we'll ever get to see that. And people get to see my nights and stuff. That's so great. I'm so happy about that. I never had a nightmare of your comics. Me either. I think I only had one dream where I saw some of like the bug things. And in that dream, I saw them in a different color than I planned. And so I did color them in the same color as my dream. That would be like a rare variant. That would be that color. But that was such a cool color scheme. I'm like, God? God just gave me a colorway. So that would be pretty cool. I never read any of the comics because I'm new. That's okay, Dave. And thank you. And so it's perfect for you because you don't have to wait like these people did. Those last batch of 5 pages was like months. I was working on that since like Christmas because, I got slowed down. I was working on college. I was working on work. I was doing like 30 sketch covers for Dynamite Comics. So it's been busy. But yeah, so if you do go on TikTok, you can read that Nadir Archives playlist. And, they're nice and neatly labeled there. If you want to read Sleepwalker first, you can, because it's an anthology series. If you can read Sleepwalker first, or if you want to read Operation Judas first, or Section 6. But Section 6 is going to be 3 parts, and I'm not done with that. So, yeah. Okay. Alrighty. I did have a dream about getting eaten by a giant in a dark room. That does sound kind of cool. Kind of weird, though. Giant? Attack on Titan? Okay. So it's a Nephilim. Alright, guys. So, is this music not working? We're gonna end in silence? Oh, man. And maybe it's my YouTube looking out for me. I don't think I played any, like, music with words and stuff. So, I'll probably be free from getting restrictions. Maybe it's for the best. Alright, so, thank you so much again. I give long goodbyes. I know I can never end it quick. But I also want to turn us over to you guys and the things that you like to do, and the things that make you happy. You know, keep doing them as long as you're not hurting someone. You know, because you love it is justification enough to do it. Thinking more of Saturn. Oh, okay, that makes sense. The Titan. That's a cool painting. All right, so thank you so much. Keep working on the things that you like to do. Make it because it doesn't exist. Do it because you love it. Enjoy the rest of your night, and good night, Spectres.